What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of Best Bets and Props, where I go over all of my betting action for this weekend's UFC card, which is UFC Vegas 81. We have a 12-fight card headlined by the prospect versus veteran matchup at featherweight. Two incredibly talented strikers. Yusuff takes on Barboza. A pretty exciting matchup for potentially 5 rounds of action here. It's exciting because Barboza is one of my favorite fighters. I think one of the bigger genetic freak strikers in the UFC, and he's been a veteran of the league for about 12 years now. Yusuff, kind of a mystery figure. You know, he could have a lot of potential to break in to the rankings further into that top 10, but he's been off and not the most active fighter over the past couple of years just due to some injuries and things like that. So, stellar record in the UFC, stellar record as a pro for Yusuff. Can he, keep on climbing the ranks here against a very tough test in Barboza? The questions will be answered. I can't wait for it. We got a lot of really close matchups on this card. You know, there's a lot of spots where I don't agree with the money line. I use the betting odds to pretty much pick a lot of my predictions this week, just because I think you can make an underdog argument for a lot of the fights on this card. But I do have 3 money lines. I've got a couple of props, and I have 1 prop parlay that I'll talk about. So it should be a pretty short and sweet video. But yeah, man, let's get into the first money line of the night, which is actually a big underdog. I took 1 unit at plus 300 odds on Alang to defeat Chris Gutierrez at bantamweight. And this is really one of these purely mathematical plays. Like, I think Chris Gutierrez, with his heavy kicking game, his high output striking, decent cardio, and he's faced a high level of competition so far, I think he definitely should be the favorite in this matchup. But they had him listed at like a minus 400 on BetOnline just a day or two ago, and I took 1 unit at plus 300 on Alang, who's a freestyle wrestler with very sharp boxing counters himself. And Chris Gutierrez, as good as his striking game is at distance, he does find himself getting hit pretty often. His durability is a little bit in question for me, and he keeps a lot of fights close. This guy has been to a lot of split decisions, some draws in there as well. Alang, similarly, he can make fights close, stealing close rounds with takedowns, and those really sharp boxing combinations he can press forward aggressively with. So I just need Alang to make it to the scorecards, make it a close fight, and potentially steal this one with those aspects of his game at bantamweight. And I think at plus 300, he wins the fight much more than that would indicate. So, yeah, I think Chris Gutierrez should win the fight in most worlds, but at plus 300, we're not talking about most worlds. So, plus 300, 1 unit on that. To start the night off with a big, juicy underdog. Moving up the card, I do have a moneyline bet on Christian Rodriguez to kick off the main card at bantamweight yet again and defeat a fellow prospect in Cameron Simon. These are both 2 young guys with pretty well-rounded games, a lot of talent and promise. 9-1 as a pro for Christian Rodriguez, who's primarily a striker with very good grappling to back it up. He takes on the 9-0 South African prospect Cameron Simon, who likewise has a pretty good striking game, but he can work his way out of bad positions on the mat as well. Now, I will say, Christian Rodriguez, I think on the mat, he's got the advantage. He's coming off of that upset victory over Raul Rosas Jr. He avoided danger early and went on to, dominate the rest of that fight, staying safe on the mat against the gassed out Raul Rosas, who burned himself out early. Cameron Simon, this is a step up in competition for him. He just took out Terrence Mitchell in his last fight, Alaska FC guy that is just not very good. But he finds himself on the mat in a lot of spots, including against Mana Martinez, Terrence Mitchell, Stephen Kozlow in his debut, which was a very bad opponent in my opinion, and he was in all sorts of trouble on the mat early. So I think in those same positions, Christian Rodriguez will be very heavy on top, and I don't think he's going to offer Cameron Simon those same exit strategies off of the mat. So I could see C-Rod winning a decision based off of that aspect of his game, staying safe on the feet, having his moments there. He does come from Duke Rufus in the Midwest, very renowned kickboxing coach and gym, and backing it up with very good scramble ability and heavy wrestling top pressure. I think he wins this fight. I have 2 units on Christian Rodriguez at minus 130, which was the first bet I placed on BetOnline, and minus 130 to minus 145 is still where this line has remained. So moving to the last money line I have, which is in the co-main event at women's flyweight, I am taking 1.5 units at minus 150. So 1.5 units to win 1 in return on Jennifer Maia. to defeat Viviane Araújo. This is a battle between two very battle-tested Brazilian female flyweights here. Viviane Araújo, I think, is a very well-rounded fighter, and she's got flashy power, very good athleticism, even in her older age, pushing her late 30s here. And she's got the wrestling ability as well. Her BJJ game is actually the first part of her martial arts career that she started training. It's just she tends to be a lesser and lesser output as the fight goes on. She can fade in certain fights as the fight goes on. And defensively, I don't think she's as good as she is offensively. So Jennifer Maia, on the other hand, her takedown defense is solid. She herself has a good BJJ game if it does go to the mat. She's not always wrestling to take the fight there, but her striking and boxing is some of the best at this flyweight division. And she's been in there with the best of the best, former title challenger. She has good 3-round cardio to put on high output striking affairs. And I just think defensively is the difference here. She's going to be able to not only dodge the heavy strikes of Viviane Araújo early, but answer back with boxing combinations of her own. And she's been in there with really good point fighting females like Caitlin Chookagian before. Again, she did battle Shevchenko for the title unsuccessfully, but now she's coming off of back-to-back victories over Marina Moroz and Casey O'Neill, where she showed just that, really sharp boxing and just a good 3-round pace to go in there and get the job done by decision. And Viviane Araújo on back-to-back losses. So a momentum difference, and I think there's a cardio and output difference and mostly better defense in the game of Jennifer Maia. So again, 1.5 units at -150 to win 1 in return. Moving on to a couple of props here. Again, I don't have a whole lot of betting action, so we are cruising through this. The only prop I have standing alone is I have a round 2 and round 3 sprinkle on Melissa Dixon in her debut to defeat Irina Alekseeva. Quarter unit on the round 2 at +700 finish, and a quarter unit on Dixon in round 3 to get the finish at +1,000. Those were on BetOnline. And Irina Alekseeva, I think her most dangerous round is going to be early in round 1. She's got a very confident striking style with her hands down, switching stances, and using her physicality to just walk girls down and bully them with these big arm punches and kicks to all targets. But she puts everything into those strikes, and she's not the most technical, but she uses her size and her just inherent power to back them up. But man, you could see even in her debut against Stephanie Egger, she started to slow down, breathing out of her mouth pretty heavy by about 3 minutes in. Luckily, she was able to, even though there was a botched head and arm throw, she ended up on top, and she ended up rolling through for a heel hook and got the job done over Stephanie Egger in a big upset in her debut this year. That's possible against Melissa Dixon early, even outstriking her. She could get that done early, but I think Melissa Dixon is the more technically sound striker, more technically sound grappler, and in round 2 and round 3, I think she'll have better cardio and be able to take out Irina should she survive round 1. So that's why I've done that, sprinkled the round 2 and round 3 at pretty high odds over Alekseeva, who I think is pretty sketchy, but could be a danger early. So the other 2 props I have parlayed them. They are under violence bets. I've got the under 2.5 rounds in Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Da Silva, the rematch, and I've parlayed that with Terrence McKinney versus Brendan Marotte ends under 1.5 rounds. So both of these are obnoxious odds, but combined, it's a -167 parlay for both of these to Daniel Da Silva, Edgar Chairez, not to see the second half of round 3, and Terrence McKinney and Brendan Marotte to follow what Terrence McKinney always does, and that's to finish the fight, kill or be killed, under 7.5 minutes. So it's like -450 for the Da Silva Chairez not to go past 2.5, and I think it's like -325, some obnoxious under 1.5 round prop there. But together, both likely outcomes. I think -167. I'll play those odds for 2 units to win just over 1 in return. It would be comical. It would be worth me using. I'm probably going to jinx it here. It would be worth me losing this parlay for 2 units just to see what Terrence McKinney looks like after the 1.5 round mark, and to see what Daniel Da Silva looks like should he go, towards the scorecards and pass that 2.5 round mark. So probably just jinxed it there, but that is the parlay. 2 units at -167 for violence in both of those fights. So that is all of my betting action. The 3 money lines, the round 2, round 3 sprinkle for the debuting Melissa Dixon at bantamweight, and this violence prop parlay. So hit me in the comments with your best bets and predictions for this fight night card at UFC Vegas 81. Yusuff versus Barboza. I would love to hear what you guys are confident on because, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of disagreements this week, a lot of very live underdogs, but that's what makes a really fun fight night card. So all 12 fights, not the highest name value, but I'm excited for each and every one of them. Good luck in all of your betting action, you guys. I'll talk to you very soon. Cheers.